you ever feel the need for more energy, vitality, and a greater sense of well-being? Then stay tuned. We are natural health enthusiasts with yet another delicious recipe of best practices and holistic lifestyle health. Our natural health planners, sponsors, presenters, and friends compile and share the simplest, most natural discoveries and practices targeted to restoring and maintaining energy, as well as a sense of well-being that we all want in our daily lives. It has been said that health is a state of complete harmony of the body, mind, and spirit. Therefore, through the practice of the 8 laws of natural health, integrated with evidence-based research, we see a world empowered by Christ's love that is passionately seeking to be its healthiest in body, mind, and soul. And that's why we're so glad you've chosen to be here. Join us each month to help us celebrate the Creator for the resources and knowledge that consistently optimize His gift of natural healing in our bodies. We thank our hosts at the All Nations Fellowship Seventh-day Adventist Church in partnership with Community Outreach Incorporated for providing this one-of-a-kind opportunity that helps us all live healthier tomorrow than we are today, every single day. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's your Natural Health Meetup presenting team for this life-enhancing edition.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is such a pleasure to be here today to really share this time with you. We have a tremendous opportunity tonight to learn from our presenters, and we have this Natural Health Meetup each month. This is the second Tuesday of each month, and I'm going to just let you take a quick look at a couple slides just in our introduction here. And I think we can get right over here. This is, of course, a major part of our planning team, and we meet every Sunday morning. One of the things that we're genuinely interested in is to know what topics you would want to hear presentations on. Natural health is becoming a burgeoning field, lifestyle medicine. There are many associations and universities that are really absorbing and welcoming this trend. And we are right here in the mix, sharing with you from the research, from our personal experiences, and just want to be sure that you know that we are interested in having you become one of those empowered people with the knowledge, with the skills, and with the comfort level of knowing that we are able to help each other through these conversations. And I'd also like to mention to you tonight that one of the main, should I say, items that we want to emphasize for just a moment is that nothing here should be construed as medical advice. We realize that, we have physicians, we have coaches, we have naturopaths, but until we are actually speaking with you one-on-one and being able to make specific recommendations based on the information that you share with us, we cannot provide for you any specific advice. But feel free to reach out to us. We are available, and we'll be able to share ways in which that you can reach out to us very easily should you have any specific questions, as well as the need to consult with us for any reasons at all. We have also, at this time, we're going to get rolling with our prayer to get started, and I believe that we have, if Al is not here, I think Dr. Lewis is prepared to get us started with the opening prayer. He's on mute, I believe. All right, so let's bow our heads for prayer. I don't hear him there, so that's fine. Let's bow our heads for a word of prayer. Dear God, we're just eternally thankful that we have you as our creator. We are eternally thankful, Lord, that you've given us so many gifts, and the major gift of all is your Son, Jesus Christ. And we are thankful, God, that through the understanding of nature and and how our bodies are made, and the ability for us to dig deep and identify the resources, the natural resources that you have provided for us. And we have the ability to share and to learn from each other. Thank you for this time, and may your spirit be here. May the information that we share, may it be useful, and may those who hear it be able to share it with others to make them even healthier than they were the day before. Thank you for hearing and for answering our prayer. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. So this evening, we have a tremendous opportunity to hear a number of presenters. And I'm going to also share with you that we had planned for 4 presenters, and one of them happens not stranded, but a little bit incapacitated in the Cayman Islands. Can you believe it? And so we have 3 presenters this evening with 3 approaches to self-healing, to lifestyle medicine, to natural health. And it's really interesting that we do have the opportunity to learn these approaches, because if you go to a physician, you go to a health coach or a dietitian, each one of them has an approach that's different from the other. And these approaches really do influence our success. And so to be able to learn the approaches, the style in which each one thinks can be very helpful. And so we do have this opportunity tonight. We have Dr. Danny Frederick to get us rolling here. And we are going to get started with him. I believe that we have Dr. Frederick here. Dr. Frederick, would you like to go ahead and share your voice and your video? I think you're already there. And yes, we are ready to hear from you, your perspective, your approach to self-care, to natural healing.
Well, thank you so much, and allow me to share my screen with everyone. Good evening, and thank you for being here on this natural health meetup. If you can see my screen, yes, the first thing there should be, no?
Yes. Nope. Okay.
There you go.
That's it.
3 John 2. It's a passage of scripture that I tried to really think about every time I go out into the world, right? Every time I wake up. Beloved, I pray that all may go well with you, and that you may be in good health as it goes well with your soul. I come from a pastoral background. I went to Andrews University, the seminary, and I got my degree from there and became a teacher, a Bible teacher. And when I came across this verse, it was in preparation to do a life skills class where we deal with health. And I just realized that the two do join forces, the two do join hands. I pray that your soul prospers, but also your health prospers. So a little bit of background about myself. Originally, I'm from the Caribbean. And so when I think about back home, all I can think about is what helps to heal is bush tea. All right. In the Caribbean, the bush was all that your parents and your grandparents gave you. If you have a sore, right, somewhere in your body, you know, they'll rub some bush together, or they'll mash it together with some other things, and then they'll apply it to your skin, apply it to that wound, that cut, or something like that. But oftentimes in the morning, the very first thing you get is tea, right? Bush tea. And you don't know what is in it, but grandmother says it's beneficial to the body. So if you have a headache, bush tea. If your stomach is hurting, bush tea. If you are feeling a bit queasy, bush tea. Everything was bush tea, and there was a ton of bush, a lot of it. But that's where my background comes from. And then a couple of years ago, going back, not only did we have bush tea, but we also have fruits. So I'm originally from the Virgin Islands, if anyone knows where that is. A small island in the Caribbean, not too far from Puerto Rico. But in my yard, when my father built the house, he built it with, and planted at the same time pineapple, right? He planted mangoes, he planted coconut trees, he planted avocado trees. And so in the Caribbean, I was inundated with a lot of natural products. We have the bush tea, we have the fruits, but we also have, right, the salt water, the sea, the ocean. And so you have the sunlight, all these things I was exposed to as a child. Did I actually think it was beneficial for me at that time? No, I didn't. I was just living my life, you know? After school, my friends and I would go down to the beach and we'll swim. That's great exercise. We'll play a game, jump in the water, and we'll have fun splashing and allowing the salts to just soak into our bodies. We did not know, just like our grandparents did not know necessarily the clinical or the scientific benefits of what we were exposed to. Not only do we have the sea there, but we also have lots of places to walk. That's what we did. We walked everywhere. We didn't have a car. I was young. I didn't have a car. So I'd walk to my friend's house several miles away. If I missed the school bus, I'll have to catch a taxi and walk the rest of the way to school. And so I want to say this. For me, my approach is lifestyle. That's how I approach trying to take care of my body. So after walking for tons of miles throughout the day or throughout the week, right? You want to get some electrolytes. I understand coconut water has electrolytes. Well, what better way to get it than to actually get it from the coconut itself? And so that's what I came through. And so a couple of years ago, I tore my Achilles tendon. It was after school, and I was playing volleyball, which is a sport I played in college. And I collapsed, I fell down, and when I got up, I could not walk properly. And as a result, that evening, I had my foot in a cast because the emergency room says I tore my Achilles tendon. I felt a little down because I realized this could jeopardize my future as far as athletics and my lifestyle is concerned. I'm an athletic person. I like to exercise. I like to be doing things. And so when they put that cast on me, I was a bit disappointed, discouraged, disoriented even. What will I do now? Well, a few days later, the doctor says, you have two choices, Mr. Frederick. The first choice is for you to let the healing take its course. And the second option is for you to go ahead and have surgery. They explained that if I let the healing take its course, then the Achilles tendon will repair itself, but that it will not be as strong as it once was before. On the other hand, if I went ahead and I had the surgery, the repair is actually going to strengthen the Achilles tendon. That way, I'll be able to continue with my desire for being athletic. And so for me, there was no choice. I had to have the surgery. But in the meantime, when I was thinking about the surgery, contemplating, I knew that I had to do therapy. And I had to put a goal in front of me. What was I going to do in preparation for the therapy that was needed and the plan of attack for getting my body back to its optimum? And I decided that I was going to go ahead and participate in a marathon. Understand, I am not a runner. The longest I've ever ran was 4 miles. I don't like running. I've never done long distance running, but I had to put a goal for myself that was beyond something that I could have done. And so I decided I'm going to do a marathon. But where to start? If I want to get this body healed, if I want to get this body in a better state than it currently is, where do I start? And so I looked at the foods that I was accustomed to eating back in the Caribbean, right? I ate turmeric. We had onions. We had garlic. water, of course, raw foods, lemons, honey, cayenne pepper, right? We drank smoothies, ginger, nuts, all these things that I thought to myself, growing up, I used to eat these things. I used to drink these things. Maybe this is what I need to do to get my body back in shape. But the one thing that started me on this journey was the China study. If you have not read this book by Colin Campbell and Thomas Campbell, it is a fascinating book, and this was the catalyst that changed my trajectory on health and natural health. You see, in this book, it says that there's more than 8,000 studies that took place for the researchers to come up with what are the best practices, right? The second thing is says that plants can reverse certain diseases. I'm not going to tell you which ones, but this is a very, very in-depth book, and it shows from many parts of the world the changes in people's lives that have taken place because of a plant-based diet. And thirdly, cholesterol only comes from eating meat. This was the information that I garnered as I was preparing to get my body back to the way it was. But that wasn't the only book. The other thing that happened was I had to stop eating processed foods. I discovered through the book, The China Study, how terrible processed foods were. I began to take different kinds of proteins. I decided to take different kinds of products that will benefit my body, natural products that will benefit my body, so that I didn't have to go back to the junk food that I used to eat. I cut out sodas. I cut out ice cream. I cut out syrups. I started to take honey instead. I started to just eat more naturally, more natural foods. And the big thing of all was sugar. I discovered how bad sugar was for the body when I continued to study and teach the life skills class that I was referring to. And I'm sure some of you have heard of the term oxidation. Well, I did not want sugar in my system because I did not want to deteriorate my body and my bones. There was a book that I started to read, and I drank that book so much. And the book is entitled Sugar Blues. Here are 3 excerpts from it. Sugar, taken every day, produces a continuously over-acid condition, and more minerals are required from deep in the body in an attempt to rectify the imbalance. Rectifying the imbalance. To protect the blood, so much calcium is taken from the bones and teeth that decay and general weakening begin. Excess sugar eventually affects every organ in the body. Initially, it is stored in the liver in the form of glucose. Since the liver's capacity is limited, a daily intake of refined sugar above the required amount soon makes the liver expand like a balloon. When the liver is filled to its maximum capacity, the excess glycogen is returned to the blood in the form of fatty acids. These are taken to every part of the body and stored in the most inactive areas, the belly, the buttocks, the breast, and the thighs. And the last quote that I felt I wanted to share this evening is, when these comparatively harmless places are completely filled, fatty acids are then distributed among active organs, such as the heart and the kidneys. These begin to slow down. Finally, their tissues degenerate and turn to fat. The whole body is affected by their reduced ability, and abnormal blood pressure is created. I will share this one thing with you. One of the reasons why I really got into this health gig is because my father passed away not too long ago. And he died because of renal failure. I saw his deterioration. I knew what his lifestyle was like. And I told myself, if I have the opportunity, I must do all that I can within my knowledge, within my strength, to keep my body at its optimum. And that's when I discovered this third book. Here's a quote from it. The human body is the exquisite structure, which we reside, and surely it is the responsibility of every human being to know something about the house we live in. The human body has the ability to heal itself. That was mind-blowing for me. I had to keep on reading. It is a self-healing organism. The question is then imposed, if this is so, why are so many sick? The human body will heal itself if given the right conditions. Unfortunately, many today are ignorant of these conditions. This book I highly recommend. It is called Self-Heal by Design, from Barbara O'Neill. Self-Heal by Design by Barbara O'Neill. But I couldn't stop there. What does the Bible have to say? Did the Bible correlate? Did the Bible affirm some of the other books that I was reading? This must be our foundational book, and this is what it says. Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. What struck me here is that according to the book Self-Heal by Design, since man was created from the ground, and plants grow where? In the ground, that the plants absorb the nutrients necessary to put back into man from which man came from. And so right there, I realized there is a blessing in a plant-based diet. For our bodies came from the earth, the plants absorb from the earth, and when we eat it, we are eating and nourishing our bodies with what is necessary for replenishing this body. And then the second passage, Genesis 1:29. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. I work at Hinsdale Adventist Academy. I've been working there for over 20 years now. One of the classes that I truly love to teach is called Life Skills. And as part of that class, I teach healthcare. So I teach them a little bit of CPR. I teach them about the functions of the organs and different parts of the body. I teach them about natural remedies. And so they have to do experiments or presentations on how to use ginger, how to use charcoal, how to use onions, how to use garlic, how to make a poultice. But there are three things that I have to teach them, and I make sure that they understand it. The first one is called New Start. So at the beginning of our program, you heard about the 8 laws of health. So we have something called New Start. N is for nutrition, right? These are lifestyle ways of getting healthy. Nutrition. E is for exercise. W is for water. S is for sunlight. T is for temperance. A is for air. R is for rest. And other T is for trust in God. Some years ago, I was asked by the Advent Health community to help promote their new 8 laws of health. And they came up with an acronym called CREATION. So this is what CREATION stands for. C is for choice. And I believe that we all say you can't do any other changes unless you choose, right? R is for rest. E is for your environment. And your environment is beyond just the space that you are in. Your environment is what's in the atmosphere, what you drink and things like that. For some of you, you are aware that we get oxygen from plants. Well, do we have plants in our homes? We should have plants in our homes. Activity, and that's not just only physical activity, but also mental activity. Do board games, do other games with friends. Get your mind active, do crossword puzzles. The T in creation is trust in God. The I is for interpersonal relationships. The O is for outlook. And the N is for nutrition. But then there was one other teaching that I provide for my students, and it comes from Dan Bueller. I'm not sure if you ever heard that name, but he was a researcher for National Geographic, and he researched about the blue zones. The blue zones. The blue zones are places in the world where there are centenarians. A centenarian is someone who lives up into their hundreds. And Dan Buettner and the National Geographic team found that there were only a few places in the world where there was a composite of people that were living into their hundreds. They were found in Japan, they were found in Greece, in Italy, in Costa Rica, and in California. An interesting thing is the group that's found in California is found in Loma Linda. And if anybody knows Adventism, Loma Linda is a mecca for Adventists. And so specifically, the National Geographic team mentions that Adventists in general are typically living later in their years. Now, I want to share some of the information that I discovered that I want to share with you, because I want you to pick up on these things and practice them in your life. Moving naturally, that's something that they did. Having a purpose, the Okinawans call it ikigai, the Koreans call it a plan de vida. Knowing why you wake up in the morning makes you healthier. Next, downshift. Stress is part of life, but Blue Zone centenarians have stress-relieving rituals built into their daily routines. Adventists pray. Next, the 80% rule. People in Blue Zones areas stop eating when their stomachs are 80% full. Next, plant slant. Beans are the cornerstone of most centenarians. Vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. Next, wine at 5. I'll explain that a little bit, but moderate but regular consumption is beneficial. Next, belonging. Being part of a faith-based community adds 4 to 14 years of life expectancy. Next, loved ones. Having close friends and family is important. And then the last one is the right tribe. The world's longest lived people have close friends and strong social networks. Now back to the wine at 5. The key here that many people do not realize is that there's something called flavonoids, right? Flavonoids. These are the enzymes that are given from mostly berries. And so they are discovered that the wine that they drink has flavonoids in it. Now, I'm not proposing drinking wine, but I am saying get flavonoids in your system. Go and do some research this evening and discover how powerful blackberries are and raspberries. Those berries are potent with flavonoids, and they actually help to reverse certain diseases. The Blue Zones researchers discovered that there's no physical fountain of youth. You don't have to move to these far-flung places to add years to your life. It also can be chalked up to just good genes, because there was a Danish twin study that shows us that genes dictate only how much? 20% of longevity lifestyle. Lifestyle and environment account for the rest. Lifestyle and environment. And so why do I choose to pursue a lifestyle of a clean body, a lifestyle where I am prepared to live longer, which I want to? It has to do with this. Exodus chapter 23, verse 20 through 25. The Israelites are about ready to go into the promised land, right? They've left Egypt, they've walked through, and now they're about ready to go into the promised land. And God says this. Let's skip to verse 25. And ye shall serve the Lord your God, and he shall bless thy bread and thy water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of thee. We know that the Israelites were going to be going into Canaan, and the people of Canaan, right? The Hittites, the Perizzites, the Girgashites, all these ites, they lived a lifestyle, they had a diet that was contrary to what God had expected. They did not live accordingly. And so, when I studied that and understood, they had the health message right before crossing over to the promised land. I realized to myself, God has given us a health message Does he know the time frame that we're at, that our promised land is soon to come? And I wanted to be prepared to do that. So in Luke 21, it says, then he continued by saying to them, nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be massive earthquakes in various places, plagues and famines, and there will be a terrible sights and great signs from heaven. So this tells us in the last days that there will be plagues all over. But then, Ministry of Healing, page 146. In teaching health principles, keep before the mind the great object of reform, that its purpose is to secure the highest development of body and mind and soul. Show that the laws of nature, being the laws of God, are designed for our good. And here's the last part, that obedience to them promotes happiness in this life and aids in the preparation for the life to come. Friends, I want you to know that I believe that Jesus Christ is coming soon. Now, soon is, I'm sure, a relative term. Many people have been saying that for a while. But as I see so many things happening, diseases running rampant, they are not able to get control of what the next plague or the next virus is going to be. It behooves us to care for our bodies. And I believe a path of lifestyle, health, lifestyle medicine is the key. There are 3 reasons why I do this. To have a clear mind, to understand truth in the last days, so as not to be tricked. Understand that if our blood is filled with sugar, if our blood is contaminated and moves slowly through our bodies, that means the blood that's going through our brains is also moving slowly. And if our brain is moving slowly, then it tells us that we are not going to be able to understand, we're not going to be able to comprehend, and we just might be tricked. But I don't want to be tricked, friends. I want to be able to have clarity of thought in the last days. Number 2, I want to be used as a tool for God in spreading the message to hasten his coming. I can't do that if I'm in a hospital bed. I can't do that if I'm connected to an IV. I can't do that if my legs are giving out. I can't do that if I can't see properly. So I want to keep an optimum health lifestyle so that I can be used by God. And thirdly, so that I can be alive when Jesus returns. See, friends, I want to see it in full color. So I had my goal of running a marathon. And by God's grace, with the training, with the lifestyle, with the diet, I was able to do that and accomplish it. But my accomplishment is pale to what's coming. Jesus is coming. And I want to be fit and ready, both physically and spiritually, to meet him in the clouds of heaven. I want to thank you so much for allowing me to share my journey with you. And I trust that you too will start your journey, if you haven't already, of trusting in God. Thank you.
And we want to thank Dr. Danny Frederick for sharing his approach to healing. That was very thorough, and I enjoyed very much how you brought in your personal experiences to this and allowed us to benefit from this holistic approach. Thank you so much for sharing. I should mention to our audience that there will be an opportunity for questions. Feel free to use the chat window even during the presentations so that you will be able to have your questions listed there. You can also wait till the end. We will have some time for that. We'll give you a chance to unmute. And at this time, we have approach number 2 by none other than Dr. Rick Howard, a naturopath, who is part of our team, and I believe he has a few items to share with us. Dr. Rick.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I was kind of getting into the rhythm of what Danny was saying, and I said, "Oh, I got to wake up here." But good evening to everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here. I'm on the road, so I have my headset on. I usually don't, but I'm on the road here, so I will. But I want to share just a few things, and I'm going to share my screen here. Let's get to this. And so we can take a look at just the things that, let's see. Just want to make sure we are here. Okay. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. So I was just thinking that we really don't have time to dig into the details of everything about all the things of health. So what I thought I'd do is kind of simplify this, and I call the presentation the Genesis effect. And it's, I've coined this phrase for myself, just three-dimensional living. So this is the simplest way that I could kind of narrow down what does it mean, how I approach helping people live a whole life and healthy life. Now, most of the time as a naturopath, I'm dealing with people who are usually very sick or kidneys failing or doing different things. But there's an essence that I want to get down to, and it's this thing I call the three dimensions of life. And so you might never have heard that, but you have experienced this all of your life. In fact, you cannot experience life without that. And so what I'm going to try to do is break this down so we have a clear understanding of what our role is and what our goal is. Okay? So there's two elements to our life, and I call it victory and vitality. Okay? Victory and vitality. And these are three-dimensional keys. So victory deals more so with the principles, okay? The principles are foundational truths that we are moving towards. In other words, stop smoking could be a goal for someone, but just because you don't smoke doesn't mean you're going to live long and be healthy, right? So that's not a principle, it's a practice. So principles, Don alluded to some of those when it comes to the elemental things of life, and I'm going to break some of those down. So when we say victory and how we live our lives, we're talking about principles, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But part two, I'm going to talk about what everybody wants to get toward, and that's vitality. In other words, what are the practices that I need to do, not only for most people, we want to recover our health, but also the vitality is the practical things we do to maintenance and maintain our health. So I want to jump into that and share a little bit about a victorious life, a three-dimensional life. So in talking about these principles, I do want to say this one thing about principles. Sometimes values and practices get wrapped in and tied into principles, but what we know about God in our lives really direct us toward the principles. So I want to start there. Every human being, no matter what stripe or color or everything, you have a conception of God, whether you believe in God or don't believe in God. There is a pattern within your life that is the same for everybody. And God is that pattern. And that's a really, really important thing for every human life. That's the difference between me and a monkey. A monkey can breathe, a monkey can eat, monkeys have babies, but what don't they do? They even communicate with each other. They can try to communicate with you, but what makes the difference between you and a monkey? The difference is, number one, self-consciousness, but more so a consciousness of a relationship with God. And we're going to see how if you ignore this basic factor, this elemental factor in your life, you will not only not have total physical health or holistic health, but you will lose and it will ebb away as you continue to live. So let's look into this a little closer. So these three dimensions are simple: physical, okay, mental, and moral. That's the basic way. We have three powers, but we're one spiritual being. We don't have a spirit inside of us that wanders around when we get gone. We have a physical body that really deals with our capability. It's our action center. It's how our body has resources to do the things we need to do. It's how we sense the world. And we make the final choices that we make. We have strength and power, and our bodies activate our thoughts. This is just a capsulization of the first dimension. And I say the first dimension because it's usually how we come into the world. Babies don't know their names. They don't know what state they're in. They don't have a concept of God or mom or dad or brothers or sisters, but they can cry, they can poop, they can eat. So that physical dimension is the first one that we have. And I'll throw a little bonus out there for us. The Bible says the first shall be the last, and the last shall be the first. Well, I think this applies totally to the dimensions of man, because the first dimension that we understand is the physical. But the next one that comes in is the mental dimension. Okay? As the baby develops, he begins to, or she begins to have some control or some interaction with their environment. Okay? So those, as the mental powers develop, the intellect develops. Okay? Your desires, your imagination comes into play. You're mediating, you're planning. The baby says, boy, I want that toy. Let me get that. You're making decisions because mommy is saying, no, no. You learn to be coordinated. So the mental power, the mental dimension is the second one that comes on the stage here, okay? But the last one, so we said the first shall be the last, and the last shall be the first. The last one that we develop are our moral powers. In other words, we learn to hope. We learn to have faith. We learn revelation. We learn to trust a certain intuitive power. We get inspired, and many times we have capabilities, right? Mentally, we know what to do. Physically, we have the ability to do things. But if we don't have the motivation and inspiration, our actions will fall flat. So just taking a moment, we just quickly went through these 3 dimensions. Which one can you be healthy without? I'll give you a moment to think about that. Can you be healthy without hope? If you're depressed all the time, can you be healthy? Does it affect your physical body because you have no determination, no motivation to live? Right? Well, can you be healthy? And let's go backwards for just a second here. Can we be healthy without our intellect? I mean, suppose you had $1 billion. Somebody gave you $1 billion. And you could do anything you wanted with that $1 billion, except your mind was confused. You couldn't think. You couldn't make decisions. You couldn't communicate to anybody. Would you be healthy? Or what about your physical life? I'm going backwards for a second. If you had $1 billion, you had all the plans in the world, but you could not move one of your limbs. You could not move your head. You could not even blink your eyes. You were just stuck inside your body. Could you call that health? Even though you have thoughts, even though you know what you want to do. My point is this: it takes all 3 of these things to bring us to a state of health. We have a balance of power. We have character, purpose, and action. That is what makes up health, and even is the strongest influence in our physical being, is how well we balance those things. So I just want to introduce that. And so now we're going to go forward a little bit and talk about the vitality part. Okay, there's much I could say more about that, the first part, but here's what a lot of people want to understand is the how the body is organized, and there's a lot that goes into this, but your mind is the coordinator, okay? It rents space in the brain, and the brain and the nervous system work together. The endocrine system is the messengers that goes forth. It communicates with the muscular, the skeletal, the lymphatic, the circulatory, the reproductive and respiratory. And usually it is through the skin, the integumentary system, the digestive tract, our eating, our pooping, whatever, and our urinary systems that we get rid of waste. These things have to be kept in a certain balance, or else we will not have what we call physical health. We will not even get there. And I'll give you just a little tidbit of how that works. In your digestive tract, if you can see this on the bottom, it's in red because these are usually the active zones within our what we call physical health. If your skin gets broken, the next exposure is the muscles and the skeletons, and also the circulatory system. So that second level there is usually exposed when anything in the first level is impacted. So deeply does that go, so that your digestive system makes all the chemistry that makes your brain work right. So many people who are depressed, or many people who are schizophrenic, many people who have other what we call neurological problems, it's usually a symptom of a digestive problem. So the body is already working according to God's design to show us that these things are not separate systems, are not really separate in any way. We just talk about them that way, but they work as one whole system. And if you read 1 Corinthians 12, you'll see the body is one system. So I'm not going to get stuck on this, but I'm going to show you a little bit about how these systems work together to show us what we call physical health, okay? And it's mind, body, power. So you have these symptoms. You got headaches, you got palpitations, you got gas or indigestion, you got nerve pain, you got swelling. Well, these are caused by chemical reactions from the body, okay? So your body shows that, but what else comes into play? A lot of times it's your psyche driven plus the intellectual that links up with the physical that causes the symptoms that we see. So let me share with you how. If my moral power, if I'm mad at someone because 10 years ago they stepped on my shoe and I'm not going to forgive them, that bad thought literally changes the pH in my gut, changes the chemistry balance of the blood, releases hormones that constrict my blood vessels and lymphatic vessels, producing the symptoms of a headache, producing the waste management problem that comes in nerve pain and swelling, all because I won't forgive someone. So is that a physical problem? Is it a mental problem? Is it just a moral problem? No, it is a life problem, okay? So my physical sets the stage for my mental capacity to work right, and even my moral powers are dependent on what happens to my physical body. So if I overeat, more blood is called to the stomach. Blood is taken away from the brain. I cannot think straight. I'm going to be more irritable in the end. If I drink alcohol, I'm going to have a beer or two. I'm going to do some things that cocaine or something. That physical problem affects my reasoning and the intellect, and it ultimately destroys my ability to make good moral decisions. So how could we separate these things? Okay, resveratrol found in that wine, Danny, is equally powerfully and gram by gram is found more in red grapes than it is in the wine. So if I'm eating red grapes, those flavonoids, and which are the colorings of that comes out of that, is really leading not only to quote unquote physical health, but it's also telling the tone of my intellect and also the ability for me to make good moral problems. I have a more complex showing of this, but I thought it would be better to go with the simple one. So I wanted to talk a little too about a high fiber diet, nutrient dense diet, low calorie diet, low protein diet, low fat diet, and this is not with products, it's just naturally plant-based, carbohydrate diet. What am I talking about? That is the Bible that God recommended in Genesis. I want to go back for a second. In Genesis 26, God was saying, listen, I made man in my image, in my likeness. And I had that, but I did not talk about that verse where first God made me in his likeness, where he carved man out of the dirt of the ground, the clay, the dust of the ground. Atomic structure was made from the materials of the dirt. Okay? That's the likeness of man, of God in man. So God has only one head because we have one head. But the other part of that is, after that, he made us with his same physical, mental, moral, like the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. We reflect him in that instance. But as soon as he did that, in verse 30, 29 and 30, he told us how to eat. And this, what I call the Bible diet, is giving you what God himself recommends for a healthy life. Okay? And we cannot fail to recognize that if you stray far from this pattern, you will have poor health. Now, there are some difficult things because we can be exposed to toxins, we can be exposed to viruses and different disease-causing agencies, even sometimes medicines that destroy the body's ability to do this. But if you eat nothing but plants, you will come up with cholesterol needed for your brain, because the body has the ability to take that carbohydrate. The liver can make the protein the fats that you need for your brain. This is a very well balanced diet that God has given us. So we can't stray too far from this. And there are, of course, many, many, many levels to this. People think there's soluble fiber and insoluble fiber, but that is so oversimplified. If we understood that each plant has its own individual types of fiber and fiber complex, and consequently bacteria and enzymes needed to break that down, that is how our bodies basically make probiotics, is by eating a variety of plant foods. Okay? No other way you can do it effectively. So you can't do it by eating a high-fat diet. You cannot do it by eating a high-protein diet. You would destroy your kidneys, you would destroy your liver, you would destroy your kidneys. Okay? So the nutrient dense, there are almost no nutrients in meat. There are almost no nutrients in other types of food. The only nutrients, including protein, which surprised a lot of people, protein only originates in plants. Okay? In plants. So the way cows get protein, and the way horses get protein, and the way all the other animals that are eaten get protein, is by eating plants. Okay? So it only originates in plants. Omega-3 only originates in plants. And the short-chain fatty acids that come from eating a high-fiber diet, really, short-chain fatty acids are the only thing in the fat compounds that are naturally made in our bodies that can cross the brain barrier, and it reduces inflammation throughout the body, but it also crosses the brain barrier and cleans and reduces inflammation within the brain. So we could go down each one of these things and show, yes, there are bad carbohydrates. Donuts, potato chips, even organic potato chips, if they don't have the right complement of nutrients, they're pretty much just junk, even though they're organic. Eating an organic donut is still a bad idea, okay? So carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates, are what you want to stay away from. No fiber, basically, describes a simple carbohydrate. If you have a complex carbohydrate, one that has a natural complement of fiber and also other phytonutrients, then that becomes the basis for promoting life. Okay? I could go on about this for a long time. I will not. I'll just say the Bible diet is adequate, not only adequate for what we need, but it is, it's exactly how we want to deal with things. So going forward here, just to wrap it up here, I got two ideas that shows, this shows the culmination of all of these things together is in how we get angry, how we deal with our mental and moral things impacts our physical health. And so we don't want to ignore that all of our dimensions go forward in sickness and disease. And the last point, taking care of my body is an act of worship. That's how we'll end that. All right. Thank you very much.
Whoa. Thank you so very much. This is an amazing array of perspectives, of approaches to self-care, to natural healing, to lifestyle medicine. Thank you so very much. And I'd like to take a quick pause here. We have a video just to remind everyone, if there are any questions that you have, please feel free to put them in chat. And we have a quick 1-minute video that we'd like to share with you just in case you'd like to stay connected with us in between our workshops each month. Our next workshop is going to be on February the 14th, second Tuesday of February. And this gives us an opportunity to even explore and exploit perhaps additional perspectives and approaches to natural healing, to self-care, and to lifestyle medicine. So I'd like to see our video now at this time. Mr. Barneswell.
We're thrilled that you're attending this edition of your Natural Health Meetup. In between our monthly sessions, you can stay connected with us in as many as 3 easy ways. Our Facebook group has our live as well as archived videos along with other natural health updates and a place to post your questions. Our Natural Health Learn and Share Meetup site has announcements, reminders, and messages for you, and also our confidential requests for prayer page. We love to pray for you and any concerns of life that you may have. Use the link on the screen to stay connected for any one of these or all 3.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much. And we're going to continue. Now, I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to dig into our third and final approach for this evening. And let's see here. I think I hit the wrong button here. So here we go. We're going to set this up. So this is the approach that I believe is very much responsible for the success that I've had in self-care approach to lifestyle health. And I know that from the previous presenters this evening, it's been amazing how the holistic approach is so important for us. All of the plants, all of the bushes that Dr. Frederick mentioned, and just really the ability for nature to provide exactly what the body needs. One of the concerns that I have, and my approach is I call it simply test and titrate. And for those of you, not familiar with the word titrate, I know we have some individuals in our audience that are not English is not their first language, but really it's very simply the ability to find out how much broccoli will I need in order to get the right impact for my health. And I will then test to see what changes take place. And you can see our chemist here is actually doing something very similar to that. And you can see we're looking for a desired effect, and we're counting the drops so we can actually find out, and that's really what very simply titration is all about. So we test to see what the impact is. And so as we take a look at my personal experience with diabetes, it's very easy to test for how well you're doing with diabetes. There are basically two measurements. There is the A1C, and of course the actual glucose levels in your bloodstream at any given point in time. And so, that's a way to test, all right? And so what I found out in my experience was that I could only tolerate a half a slice of bread. Anything further than that with carbs would actually spike my blood sugar way off the charts. And that was because I had that condition at one time where just a simple half a slice of bread. How did I find out about that? Well, it's because I was able to have a half a slice of bread, wait somewhere, between 20 minutes to an hour, and test my blood sugar a number of times and watch it rise. And so that's the ability for me to know what one slice or half a slice of bread would actually do. And so I remember specifically one day just thinking about, why do I have this condition? What is really going on in my body? And how can I understand better what the challenges are that I'm experiencing? And I was determined after leaving the physician's office never to take the medication that he was prescribing. I said, I'm going to find out, figure it out. And this is where the idea of test and titrate came from. And here it is that I had one grape. So my blood sugar is below the 100 level. I had one single grape. And would you believe it, that it went up to approximately 398, from below 100 to 398 with one single grape. Now my body was in terrible shape at that point in time. I had considered myself to be extremely healthy. I had tons of orange juice, and I had, or like Dr. Rick just mentioned, organic everything, like cookies and pastries and all of those wonderfully tasting things. And yeah, my body was in terrible shape, so much so that one grape would boost my blood sugar that high. And then I continued doing more research, and I figured out, so what happens to my body when I have something green like a salad? And I figured out, well, that didn't spike my blood sugar very much. It was negligible, in fact. And so I kept studying and researching. And so, yes, it went up over almost 300, approximately 300 milligrams per deciliter. And no change here with the vegetable salad. So if you are able to see for yourself as you test and figure out how much of a thing can I actually have. And so these are the results that I had in my experience. This is where the doctor found me. My A1C was at 12.1, and he literally shouted at me and said, "You are about ready for a heart attack in your condition." And this is what my readings were in July 23 of 2009. And so I used test and titrate so that I could actually get these results roughly 18 months later. And so my A1C was down to 5.7. Cholesterol, you can see significant changes in triglycerides and other stats here. But by being able to understand how my body was working, it was extremely helpful for me to know what to do and what was working. And so I have a manifesto that we've developed, and anyone who would like to become a diabetes or anyone that is having issues with diabetes, I do have a book published, but self-advocacy is really vital. You need to be truly interested in your health, in your life, in the whole life. And part of it, of our responsibility, is to take some responsibility for the research that's needed. And that's where test and titrate comes in. What are the facts? All right? What are the true facts? And we've heard two wonderful presentations outlining many of those facts regarding health. To believe in quality in, quality out, the QIQO. That is so vital that we must recognize that whatever we do with our bodies, there is some kind of impact. There's a cause and effect relationship. Test and titrate often. That was one of the things that I had to do to learn. And if you have a victory, if you figure something out, one of the things that's really important in this approach is that whenever you have a good result, is going in the correct direction, pause to celebrate. Don't just take it for granted. If you had a vegetable salad and you get a good reading, or you feel a lot better over the course of time, celebrate that, because it reinforces the good behavior. The dopamine spigot gets turned on, right? And so you really have an opportunity as you celebrate those wins, those good trends that you are seeing, and then to value direction over speed. Sometimes we really want a quick fix. Yes, I want to be better yesterday. And we don't recognize sometimes that it's taken many years for us to get to that unhealthy condition, at least for it to be manifested. And to value the direction over speed. Sometimes we need to go quickly because there are critical issues that need to be addressed. But where we have the luxury of time, if we can value the direction over speed and trust the process. You've heard in the presentations today prior to mine that there are things that actually the body uses to heal itself. It's naturally designed to heal itself. Trust that process. And if you trust that process, it will help you to make those better decisions. And this is specifically now for diabetes. We count the A1C down, 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 and we do things that empower cellular healing. And of course, diabetes and any health condition that you wish, lifestyle medicine is, of course, truly impactful, and the whole idea is to just beat it. So what are the causes of disease? And I like, when I work with clients, as I coach through, people know these things already, right? And these are common statements that are out there, that, yes, my genes, all right, yes, I know I have a weakness for sugar, maybe it's just the wrong kinds of fats or too much of it. Too many carbs, too much protein, as Dr. Rick mentioned earlier. And, I got it from my mother. She has it, so I have it too. And we forget sometimes about the impact of lifestyle separate from these comments. The epigenetics is right there to help us recognize that, yes, just because our mother or father or grandfather had it, we do not have to have that. And so we do have these things that impinge on our health. But less common statements that we might hear would be constipation. Wow, that's a buildup of toxins. So one of the things that I really have identified that works for me and just so many people to realize that we need to have free bowel movements on an ongoing, constant basis. And with the right diet, with the right input, the right amount of hydration, the right amount of movement in the day, the exercise, and the right amount of rest, all of these things do help to keep our bowels moving. One of the big things that so many people are thinking about, carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Wow, lack of micronutrients is huge. And that's the reason for the wide variety of so many fruits and vegetables, because they are bringing that up out of the soil. And that's where we're able to get so much of the healing power. But lack of micronutrients is definitely one. Poor muscle tone. Yeah. Every time we build muscle, every time we exercise, cardio is great, but building muscle is also so important, because the tone of the muscle, it improves circulation, it improves communication, it improves the electrolyte balance in our bodies. And muscle tone is so important, and our lives, for the most part, are so sedentary. And I'm recommending, just for those who find it difficult, the discipline to go and get exercise and really have those times of movement. Walking is great, but I found that the Tabata, or the high-intensity interval training, is extremely valuable. You can actually see impact very quickly. Within a couple of weeks, you can figure out that your endurance is so much better. And you will also find that many of the toxins that are resident in the body, because of the increased circulation. And so within 4 minutes, you can actually have the equivalent of walking 2 miles, physiologically speaking. And so muscle tone, the Tabata, T-A-B-A-T-A exercise, or high intensity interval training, highly valuable. But poor muscle tone, sometimes, yep, that is the cause in many cases of some diseases. We think about air quality and breathing, and the importance of deep breathing, where we exhale for a longer period of time. There's the whole balance of the nervous system. When we inhale quickly, get a good amount of oxygen in, and then exhale slowly, deliberately, but for an extended period of time, it helps to even modify the pH in our bodies. A study done at Harvard University brings that out. And then, of course, water. Hydration is so important. I found that, for me personally, approximately 80 ounces of water per day gives me a tremendous amount of energy, gives me increased mental clarity. It has, up through this point, significantly reduced my back pain, which could be connected to kidneys, of course. And so hydration is so powerful for there's no physiological reaction in the body that can take place in the absence of water. And so please know that hydration is extremely important, and to find the right amount for you is so valuable. Then, of course, in our environment, we have mold in our homes and other air particulates that sometimes we are not aware of. And stressed organs, these last two, stressed organs and mental and emotional stress. I have them here in bold because I'd like to share with you this diagram. And this is where we know that oxidative stress. Now, many people, and even myself, many times we say, cause of disease, inflammation. But there's something before the inflammation, and that is oxidative stress. And very simply this. Oxidative stress is where we have more toxins or free radicals, or otherwise known as reactive oxygen species, more of those than we have of the reducing species, the beneficial elements in our body that we need. And so there's an imbalance. And when that happens, God has made the body so amazing that as soon as this trend or this imbalance occurs, there's a series of reactions that are triggered in the nucleus and the mitochondria of the cell that cause a host of reactions to occur. and we put this diagram together a few years ago. But right here, you will find there's a pathway that signals the mitochondria to produce antioxidants. And so when your body cannot produce enough of the antioxidants to counteract the free radicals that are in your body, that's where you have oxidative stress, and that eventually leads to chronic inflammation in your body. So what we're going for is to make sure that we have this kind of balance, where as soon as a free radical is produced in our body as a result of just being alive, our regular metabolism, then we want to have enough of the antioxidants available, and that's where those fruits and vegetables come in. And I love the idea that we could just have fruits and vegetables and maybe a few nuts, if you like, and we could pretty much live on that. And that will give us enough of the antioxidants to keep this balance going. I know when my body is balanced, I know that my body, I can do my neck, I can turn my body, and it feels loose. I don't feel tight. My body doesn't feel restricted. My range of motion it feels good. And this is where your balance, you can actually identify even by your feeling how that when that balance is this way. So this is a real quick review of this diagram. There's a whole lot here, and I blocked some things out because of other references that we don't need for this presentation. But the primary cause of disease is oxidative stress. So I have good news for you, right? Oxidative stress is where it is. Please note that, yes, the herbal legacy with Dr. Christopher, he has the mucusless diet. This is a book also that I recommend by Professor Ehret. This is the one that's edited by Professor Spira. The mucusless diet, the healing system. These, if you want to take a picture of these QR codes, feel free to do so. But you will notice that when I click on these items to go to here, let's take a look. We'll go back here and see here is Dr. Christopher's list. Just you will see, you know, the do's and the don'ts. All right. The do's, any whole live raw foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, and a small amount of fresh fish or chemical-free chicken. That's what he says here. And if you, when I finish this, you will understand why I include these, because I want to challenge you to do your own testing. And that will allow you to see whether this is indeed accurate or not. I'm going to go back over here to my slide, and I'll use this link now. This is a different approach with Professor Ehret. And you will notice that he has here, let's make this a little bit bigger for you. You can see this is where he has in the mucusless diet, acid-binding, non-mucus forming, or mucusless or mucus-free foods, ripe fruits that are mucusless. This is the list. So if we could increase significantly the amount of these things, we could help to create that balance. And then he has the dried or baked fruits. Fruit jellies without any sugar added. Perhaps local high-grade honey. Green leafy vegetables. This list, if you have an abundance of these items, you will find that many of the health concerns that you have, you'll start sleeping better with the hydration and the exercise and those things we've mentioned earlier. And I'm going to leave this slide because our previous presenters have pretty much indicated that complete list. So here we go now. We talked about oxidative stress. We talked about the things we know that help to reduce the oxidative stress by producing the raw materials the body needs to counteract that. I want to share with you that heart rate variability, the ability for you to test the impact of anything you're doing regarding your health. Heart rate variability is an excellent way to do that. And I have found, even as I was going through my recovery from diabetes or reversing diabetes, this was one of the things that enabled me to really monitor the true impact of what I was doing, because sometimes you don't feel anything different. You had that donut, right? And you don't feel different right away. And maybe you had a donut a day for a whole week, and you don't feel anything, but something's happening in your body. And this is where heart rate variability can actually be very, very helpful. What is it? It's not the heart beat, as we know, so many beats per minute, but really what it is the ability of these devices with apps on the phone to measure the actual interval between the beats. And what we've noticed is that the interval is not consistent. The interval between beats is not even in a healthy person. If you are struggling with oxidative stress, what happens is that you will have a very regular beat. The interval will be pretty much the same. However, when you are healthy, because of the nervous system and the way it works, and the ability of the body to respond to very tiny changes in what's going on in your body, tiny changes in the environment, that variability between heartbeats is an indication of how ready your body is to respond to different changes that are occurring in your body. And the more ready that it is, you will find that the healthier that you will be. Now, I had a video to share, and because of time, I'm not going to share that video, but you will find that this is the video that we had here. It will go into more explanation of that, but I am going to share with you the monitors, and these are the 6 best HRV heart rate variability monitors of 2022. And this is I'm going to jump down right here just so that you would see, but there are quite a few of these here, and I will put this link in the chat for those of you who may be interested in doing more research on this. But here's something that you will find. This particular one is the one that I used, and this one here, the Polar H10. You put it on your chest, you have an app on the phone, and we recommend that you use it just before you get up or just when you wake up in the morning, so you can actually monitor on a day-by-day basis the heart rate variability. And the price on this one, even though it is supposedly the most accurate, it is the least expensive. And for $75 and the app on your phone or your tablet, just a really cool way to monitor the trend of health. And so it doesn't apply to diabetes specifically, it's just your overall well-being. And many athletes use this type of device to even help their training, to optimize their training time and allow them to make good decisions each day about what they should or should not do in terms of exercise. So I hope that this was helpful, and I'd like to find out if there are any questions in the chat window. No one has any questions so far. Are there any questions that you'd like us to entertain now? I'll set it so you can unmute yourselves if you have a question. Okay.
So did you have type 2 diabetes that you reversed on your own?
That is correct, ma'am. Yes.
And that only took you 18 months?
That's right. It took 18 months and a lot of research, a lot of testing, what works, what's not working, alpha lipoic acid, cinnamon, berberine, a lot of things, all the way to stem cell stimulants to improve the stem cell production in the body. A lot of things I had to test to be able to identify what was working.
So you discovered this all on your own, not really through a medical team?
That is correct.
Good for you.
Yes, that is correct. And it really the research, the information is there. And if I might add, just a good place to go, and if anyone needs help with interpreting any of the information there, but pubmed.gov is a great place to go to identify where this repository, the National Institute of Health and the National Library of Medicine, have a tremendous number of articles on pretty much any health topic, any herb, any plant material, any supplement. Many of them are all, the research is all here. And you can, in fact, get a lot of answers with double-blind, placebo studies, just so many. So please realize that the body, their information is here, we have it, but we like to know, is it really helping? And it's nice to go to the doctor and get the confirmation, right? And have them say, yes, you're free. But it's really designed that you knowing what you're doing with fruits and vegetables and healthy foods that are not tainted with toxins and preservatives and processed in so many ways that spoil them, you will have a tremendous opportunity to heal or have the body heal itself. Any other questions, please? Post a link to the Facebook page again. Sure, yes, love to get that. And let's see here. Barry, could you put the link? I know it's BIT. No, I don't want to put it in because I may type it in incorrectly. But somebody's asking for the video, the last part of the second video. Can you get that for us? Here, I think I got the link for the Facebook page, so I'm going to just put that in the link here. This is our Facebook page. The recording is here. Many of our materials are also in the Facebook group. And so when you click on it, it'll ask you to join, and we'll approve it usually within just a couple of hours. All right, well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Pastor Atkins is the pastor of the All Nations Fellowship Church. And he is our pastor. He's my pastor. And we work together here just to help our community. And we are located in Downers Grove, Illinois, for those of you from different parts of the country tonight. And we would like to ask him to close us out with prayer and any final comment that he might like to make.
Once again, thank you. Wonderful program this evening, reminding us the importance of, first and foremost, seeking a relationship with God and understanding his will for us. He wants us to be healthy, wise, prudent, and happy. He wants us to have all of that in this life and the life that he has promised for us. Want to thank all of our guests. And if you're visiting with us for the first time, we are so happy that you chose to come with us and learn more about this magnificent body that God has created in his image. If there are no more questions, I'll have a short word of prayer, and then you can get a good night's rest. Is that okay?
Yes, that's good.
That's all a part of the health plan that God has for us, that is rest. Loving Father and our God, we thank you for this new year. You have allowed us to see another year come in. And Father, we just pray that this year would be even better than last year. We are asking for you to guide us in our health. Help us to choose that which is wholesome and healthful for us each and every day of our lives. You have created so many wonderful plants that are edible, that are fantastic for the body, including our minds, and so that we can have clarity of mind, Lord, so that we can work, serve you, serve in our communities, and just bring honor and glory to your name. We thank you. We pray that as we purpose in our hearts to eat healthfully, get good exercise, get fresh air, good sleep, and learn how to detox by meditating in your holy word. I just want to thank you, Father, for all that you've done for us and will do for us. In Jesus Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
All right, you guys have a good evening. Have a
Thank
wonderful...
you all for coming. February 14, we'll have another dose with other approaches and perspectives, and look forward to seeing you all.
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
We're thrilled that you're attending this edition of your Natural Health Meetup. In between our monthly sessions, you can stay connected with us in as many as 3 easy ways. Our Facebook group has our live as well as archived videos along with other natural health updates and a place to post your questions. Our Natural Health Learn and Share Meetup site has announcements, reminders, and messages for you, and also our confidential requests for prayer page. We love to pray for you and any concerns of life that you may have. Use the link on the screen to stay connected for any one of these or all 3.
Good job, Dale.